everybody in Chiefs Kingdom? This is Chiefs Focus First and 10. You are here with JP and Caleb on a Thursday night, getting ready for this first playoff game. What's up, Caleb?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm here, brother. I'm floating along.
I hear you,
Just,
man.
hearing things, seeing things. We put an article out today that was actually supposed to go out yesterday, but about some EB news and Eric Bieniemy news. And there's some other things that are going on with him as far as teams that are interested in him that, and I think we actually put it in the article, our writer did. There is a West Coast team that is interested. It just depends on what happens after this. Well, I guess it's going to really depend on what they decide to do. But he's got some takers. There was a couple of jobs out there that were actually offensive coordinator jobs that he had been offered.
Okay.
So I doubt very seriously he's going to take an offensive job at the beginning. He's going to go for the head coaching jobs first. And then if he doesn't get one, then he may take an offensive coordinator job somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's a few jobs out there that he's tied to a few teams right now. And we put out teams that I don't think anybody knew about because we just found out about them. But we found out yesterday early yesterday about Minnesota being the front runner for him. And the Oregon job got taken. So that's out. When I was telling everybody he was tied to a college team, it was Oregon. But they went with someone else. And there's a West Coast team. I'm hearing maybe the Jaguars in some capacity.
Okay.
And then everybody else knows about the rest of the teams, Denver and let's see who else. There's one other team. Miami is kind of that's an iffy situation with Miami. That owner, he's something else. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
He's not the best guy. So I don't know how that'll work out. And I know why he hired and fired Flores. And it's pretty sad that he did it the way he did it, but it is what it is. He got what he wanted out of it. And to say that they were moving in the wrong direction, it's stupidity given the fact of what their record was prior to Flores getting there. So he just got what he wanted. And if that same, I guess, rule applies in the NFL moving forward, then EB may have a shot down there. But that would be the only way he would have a shot because I've heard a lot of stories about that owner, and he's not the most stand-up guy in the world. I'm not going to say what he actually is because I don't want to get in trouble, but he doesn't like certain people. I'll just put it that way. I guess it depends on, how should I word this? Where they're from, where their family originated from, things of that nature, if that makes any more sense to you. Where their background is.
Well, I think he made some comments about a coach a long time ago. He made some comments that weren't really accepted, and people were frustrated back then. It came in like last year, or no, a couple years ago they resurfaced. So, but I mean, EB will find if it's not with the Chiefs, I think he'll find a job in the future. It'd be depending where. Like you said, he'll probably go for a head coaching job. But he'll probably most likely, as you say, man, if it comes down to and you can't get a head coaching job, an offensive coordinator, excuse me, as a JP stated in an article, we had a list of teams from what JP has heard. JP has broke a lot of news before, and he has told me many different things before it's happened. He's on a pretty good track record for the most part. I mean, one prime example is Matt Bushman. The Chiefs signed a tight end. He got that out the night before, and then you didn't see reports until like the next 12 hours or so. Yeah. And he was right about a lot of different other things and players that are going to be signing. So when we tweet something about a possible player, there's a good chance they're going to sign because JP has really good insight, and we have shown that throughout the years. So,
yeah, it's been insightful as far as how people interact with certain sources, I guess I should say. Whether they sign him or they don't, there's 100% track record. At least we did talk to them, and they were
Yeah.
trying to sign them. So it's just, and that's why I word things certainly a certain way, because everybody wants to jump on the fake source thing, and I word it where until the pen hits the paper, I'm not going to say they're signing, but I know they're here, and I know we're talking to them. So it is what it is, but eventually that'll all fade out, hopefully one day, and people will take a little more. For the most part, people listen. I have a lot of people that DM me and ask me a million times, what's going to happen with this guy? What's going to happen with this guy? Are we keeping this guy? Are we going to re-sign this guy? Are we actually interested in somebody when another outlet puts them out and it's not true? I mean, it just is what it is. So, I mean, hopefully one day, I do it just because I want people to understand and know. I don't do it for any clout or any other reason. It's just because I have the information. So why not put it out? We talked about the plethora of players that Veach put on futures deals. I'm pretty excited about a minimum of 3 of them right now. And Omar's right at the top of the list for me, but I think he could be a huge impact with this team. He'll fit right in.
Oh, for sure.
Somebody asked me on a DM, and I don't remember who it was, about Jody.
Jody?
Yeah. From what I'm hearing from everyone right now, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see why they would do that. I mean, I don't know because he tore his Achilles. Is that what it was? JP,
Yeah.
did he tear his Achilles?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know how long typically that injury lasts for?
Well, it depends on where the tear is and how severe it was. But, when you look at like a Tyron or even, was it DeAndre Baker? I think it was. It tore his. No, it was Thornhill.
Thornhill tore his ACL.
ACL, that's right. Depending on what it is, it could be, if it's ACL, it could take 1.5 years sometimes. If it's, if it's Achilles, that can be 1.5 years. It just depends on where it's torn and how badly it's torn and how great the doctor is that put it back together. I don't see it being I think he'll be back for next season for sure. I think he'll be back in training camp. They said he's made
possible.
Everybody I've talked to, even the doctor that I talked to there, said he's made absolute tremendous progress with it, and he's doing everything he can to get back on the field by training camp. So I think it'll be just fine with him. And we can't get rid of him. I mean, we just can't. That would be like,
he's another receiver you can really keep, and he can do some stuff for this team. As we saw, we might have a tight end hybrid too, possibly wide receiver in the mix with him, because he caught a couple touchdowns. He was in limited capacity, but he did a pretty good job overall in the different areas he played. And just have that, I mean, if we had him for the Steelers game, he would be another weapon we could really use. But unfortunately, he got hurt. And it is what it is. He's battling, trying to get back. But I do feel confident what we have, though, moving forward. So,
well, again, we broke that news last summer, actually, that he came out as a wide receiver. He was a wide receiver with the team.
It was a hybrid, basically.
Well, originally they had him down as a wide receiver. And then when they decided to move him over to tight end and make him a hybrid player, we were the ones that broke that news that that's what they decided to do. And then it came out about 3 weeks later that now he's a tight end, but, or a hybrid tight end, but he's got phenomenal hands and, just fast, elusive, strong, can beat the hell out of anybody, push people out of the way. His catch rate was like 148, which was insane while he was on the field this year.
Yeah. He had some phenomenal catches when our offense was struggling. He was one of the bright spots.
He really was. So I think if he would have lasted without that injury, our season would have been totally different. He was that extra. I truly believe, and we have been on his bandwagon since day one, but I truly believe he could have been that addition that. And probably what Veach was thinking as well is that he could be that addition that replaced Sammy in different roles. And he puts a fear factor in people. So
that's true.
People would have really started noticing him, and they started to notice him when he's going up, jumping over buildings to catch balls, and he just did a great job. So I can't
That's
wait to
true.
see him back on the field next year. It's going to be
Hmm.
phenomenal. And with what Veach is doing right now, with all these signings and bringing in people that are just these are all our future players. I mean, that's what everybody has to look at. Veach is bringing in people that can complement the team and make us better. And it just is what it is. We're not going to see Anthony Hitchens here next year, but that's what Nick Bolton was brought in for.
Yeah, you got to upgrade the positions eventually. As much as it sucks to have certain players, you're gonna have to upgrade.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got a faster, hard hitting linebacker, and nothing against Hitchens, but sometimes you got to move on to different players. And
Well, he's just faded out. I mean, he's gotten slower. I mean, it's just what it
Mhm.
is. He's taken a lot of hits. He's had some injuries.
He's an older player
He's
too,
an
and
older player.
don't always last long in NFL. So
Exactly. I mean, when we signed him, when I found out we were signing him, I was very excited because
mhm.
that was the same time I found out about Sammy, and I was happy for both of them, to be honest with you.
Because
And
these are two stars that were going to come to the team. Like, oh, they can really help us in the time of need for the playoffs. And look where and they were able to help
yeah,
us make those moves. So
yeah.
it was very beneficial.
But now it's
So,
just time
oh,
to move on. So
yeah, I hear you, man. So before we move on to the main part of the show, man, I got a question for you. So Cornell Powell tweeted, "I'm ready," with the emoji where his steam coming out of his nose. Is there a possibility you think he may come back for the playoffs and play, or you think he's just sitting for the rest of the year still? Is he
uh,
an extra wrinkle they Chiefs can add, or they kind of pretty much have their playoff roster set?
well, I think they, if anything, they could bring him in the active on the active roster
Hmm.
um, as a backup because right now it's not going to really hurt anything.
Hmm.
Uh,
Do you think he's gonna get a chance, or they're just gonna keep him on the practice squad based off that tweet alone? I mean, it could be a bunch of different things.
well, that
We're
tweet
just
could
kind of,
mean because
yeah.
people have been trashing him. So people keep saying that he was a bust and a pick and this and that and the other. And
Hmm.
it could mean one of two things. It could mean that he's telling people I'm ready to play. I don't care what the freak you think I am, but I'm ready. And
Hmm.
it could also be the fact that he's already been told that he may be elevated.
Hmm.
And if he does
Well,
get elevated, I haven't heard anything yet, but I did hear some kind of rumblings that they were considering it at one point, depending on injury and things of that nature. But hey, if he gets brought in, it's not going to hurt my feelings.
hmm.
He's just another weapon out there that
Hmm.
he's been practicing, he's been trying, he's been learning the playbook. I do know all of that, and
Hmm.
he's ready to. He says, in fact, he told one of the guys I know he was ready mid-season to come out and play, and
Okay.
so I know that he's ready. And I think he could fill a role. I think he could actually play a role in everything. But it's just again, he's got to be 100%,
Hmm.
especially going into the playoffs because
Yeah.
this
You
is a
don't know
guy that
what's
hasn't.
gonna happen.
No, he hasn't played a regular season game yet. And you just can't throw him into the playoffs. But
Hmm.
he can be in there as a backup just in case because he does know the system, and now he knows the playbook. He knows the routes. As long as he can catch and he doesn't get the jitters because he is in the playoffs, then more power to him. I hope he does come in. I mean, I'd love to see the guy make it, and that's why they hung on to him. I mean, you don't draft somebody and then cut them because you don't, because they're not ready yet. You
Hmm.
draft them,
That's
you
true.
put them on the practice squad, you get them ready, and then you bring them out the following year.
Hmm.
And maybe 2 years, but it's usually the following year. Jody Fortson waited a little longer.
Hmm.
I kind of wish he wouldn't have, but he did. I think he would have been a pivotal part of our offense last year. But it is what it is. I mean, we're not coaches, and I'm not a coach, so I don't know what they do or don't do, and what they see
Hmm.
and don't see. I just hear things.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. That's kind of why I asked. I saw the tweet and I was
yeah,
like, well, we never know. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna work out. If he comes for the playoff run, great. If he doesn't, oh well. Say maybe if someone were to be hurt, like say McCole or D Rob or was to get hurt, he would probably get promoted. But at the end of the day, it's gonna work out regardless. So
and it
it'll
really
work
depends.
out.
You're right, and it'll depend on how they play during this Pittsburgh game. I mean,
Hmm.
if D Rob has a bad game, or
I mean, he's been fairly consistent in the offense, so that's the thing.
yeah, So if he has a really bad game and they still pull one out and win, and they have to move on to the next one, they may just put him in. They may pull him into the active
I
roster.
hope, but then the issue is, well, D-Rod plays special teams. Like, okay, yeah, but I mean, we're at the point where let's try to win games, not worry about the depth chart of the special teams.
Yeah,
but that's neither here or there. So
yeah, I don't think they worry so much on the offense. Well, at least Andy doesn't worry so much about the offensive side of the ball for depth chart as Spag does on defense. And I think Spags is kind of he's realized that he made a mistake at the beginning of the season, and then he made another mistake just now. He's got to get over this bromance shit with Sorensen, and everything will be fine. I mean, it just is what it is. Thornhill needs to be out on the field, and I know it's like a broken record every time we have a show, but it just is what it is. He needs to be out there. He's a game changer, and he makes everybody else play better. So
that is true. That is
kind of like
true.
how Ingram did. I mean, look what Ingram did.
He elevated the defense.
Everybody on that team has said that.
We got him for as a steal.
Yeah,
a steal, 6th-round pick.
Yeah, and everybody on that team has absolutely said he changed the intensity of the defense, and Thornhill just also changed the intensity of the defense. So why not keep those guys out there? I mean, it doesn't make sense to pull them back.
That's true.
But again, I'm not a coach, so I don't know what's in their mind, other than I know Spags just really stuck on that depth chart shit, and it needs to go away. It's 1998 thinking, and it just needs to go. There is no depth chart anymore when it really boils down to it. If you got a player that comes out of college that tears up the field, he's your number one on the depth chart. I don't care if you got a 4 or 5 year guy that plays like, if he's playing like crap, he's number 5 on your depth chart.
Time to move on.
Yeah. So it's just kind of how, it needs to be summarized to this point. But
I hear you, man.
I would love to see him out there and play, but I'll find out. I'll ask around and see what I can hear, if I can get any insight on that part of it. But and if I honestly, I think if he is going to, they're going to keep it very, very silent, because
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, they're going to.
I wouldn't be surprised, because it's a whole added wrinkle defense weren't prepared for.
Exactly. So. Exactly. And he's a bulldozer, so he hits hard, and he pushes people out of the way. He goes up for the ball. He's just one of those guys that if he's out there, a lot of corners and a lot of safeties they're going to feel it. So that's just how it seems to me, but we'll see how it goes from this point on. We'll see. I think we're going to see after this Pittsburgh game, we'll see what moves will be made. And it's also going to define, I think, who ends up staying and who ends up going next year. I already know that Sorensen is most likely not going to be here next year. I know Hitchens is not going to be here next year. Those two guys are done, as far as I'm told.
Well, you got to move on. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You got to upgrade your team to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And Sorensen actually considered retirement last year. A lot of people didn't know that, but he did consider retirement. That's the only reason he stayed one more year, is because Spags talked him into signing a 1 more year deal.
Yeah, well, that's probably why I was playing him.
Yeah, that's exactly why he's playing him, because he talked him into staying. So, and he did great. Okay, look, I'm not going to down the guy for doing really well in the playoffs, because he did. And he helped us at the end of the regular season. But it's a year later. His role would be fantastic if he'd stay in that same spot, but in the spot that Spags put him in there when we were on that 7-game streak of not allowing points. But it just is what it is. We got a lot of playoff games that are very strange. There's a lot of iffy games right now. Looking at like Cincinnati playing the Raiders.
That's going to be a tough game. What are your thoughts there?
You know what, man? I thought for a while that Cincinnati was going to be a one and done in the playoffs. I said that a couple of times because they don't have the experience in it. But you know what? Either do the Raiders. They have players that may have been in the playoff one here or there, but they don't have the coaching staff. They don't have. Carr has no idea what the playoffs are like. After 8 years of being in the league, he's never been in the play or never had a playoff game. So I would venture to say that if it's a 50-50 game for me, but I think the Raiders might be able to pull that one out. And if they win that game, hey man, more power to them. After what they've been
I feel like I don't know why. I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at if there's always one team that makes a surprise run, wins a couple games, they could be this team. So that wouldn't surprise me. But they're dealing with so many different issues. So they had a guy got in trouble yesterday for a DUI.
That's the second one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But I think when it comes down to the end of the day, that game is going to be interesting because you got two teams that don't have much playoff experience. And when you look at that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals win, but I'd be a little bit shocked if the Raiders won too. Just kind of looking how the teams stack up against each other now. Jamar Chase could easily go off. But what happens if since they don't have no playoff experience, be like, well, how are they going to play in certain situations? So there's many different factors, but that game I feel like could be a coin toss. That's just my opinion looking at it right now.
Yeah,
I could be completely wrong after they play this Saturday coming up at 3:30 after that game is over about 6 o'clock at night, CT time. I could be completely wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised that game would be an upset, just from my understanding.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, given the fact that they got into the playoffs, and if they win a game, are they going to hang on to that coach?
Yeah, that's true because they weren't supposed to make it, but they kept battling, kept clawing, and did their thing. So
yeah, so you don't know what they're going to do as far as that's concerned. I did hear from my guy here that they planned on moving on from him from as far as the head coach was concerned. That was, 5 weeks ago, but they had no plans on keeping him as a head coach.
Okay.
But things change. I mean, if there's not a good, and it's like recycling, the one thing that I can't stand is recycling bad coaching.
Yep.
And that's what's been going on a lot lately is recycling the same bad coaches. You have to give somebody else a chance. I mean, McVay's been, as much as I really don't like McVay, and I don't know what it is about him. It may be his voice. It may be his little bit of arrogance. I don't know what it is. He was a good example of somebody that stepped in and was able to do something because he's a younger coach. He's got the younger mentality. He brings in fresh perspectives. So I think recycling these head coaches is a mistake. I mean, it really is. Unless these coaches, I look at like, what's his face from Minnesota? Was it Zimmerman?
Zimmerman. Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. Yep. I look at him and I think, how could he, given his track record with Kirk Cousins, he wanted him so bad, the worst contract probably I've seen in years. Why would anyone want him as a head coach? Because he's never really done anything as a head coach. Now, on the flip side of that, you look at Flores, which, in my opinion, is a newer, younger, brighter, more versatile head coach that should be picked up by someone and really take a team to its new heights, which he was about ready to do at Miami until, their owner decided that he, God, I don't even want to say it, but I know a lot about that situation, but I'm not going to blurt it out because it's just not, to me, it is what it is.
It'll come out, man. It'll come out eventually. So.
It's pretty sad. I mean, it's sad. That guy is, I'll just put it this way. The guy's a piece of shit. There's not many people in the NFL that I can sit there as owners and say, wow, they're a real piece of shit. He's one of them. Daniel Snyder's definitely one of them. He's not even running the team anymore. His wife is. He has no operations with the team anymore. Well, on paper. You look at guys like that. The guy, is it the Texans? Can't think of his name right now. He's another one. You got 3 owners out there that just shouldn't be owners. I mean, they just shouldn't be. And by the way, for everybody that is wondering about Denver and their situation this next year with the head coach, by spring, that team's going to be sold.
Yeah, I think, wasn't there a tweet or something.
I don't know.
Possibly. I thought I saw something, but I saw something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not surprised though, because they've been going through so much turmoil at the end of the day with Denver.
Well, they've been trying to get rid of the team for a while, and there was a bunch of battle over family stuff and this and that and the other, and who didn't want to sell, who did, blah blah blah. But I guess they've come to an agreement, from what I was told, and they are going to sell the team, and that's going to boot probably John Elway out the door, and they're going to revamp everything. Whoever buys it's going to revamp. And from what I understand, maybe by March it'll be gone. It'll be sold to another owner. So
that would not surprise me.
That's great. I mean, you know, the Bullens were Pat was a great person, and he did a lot for that team, but he's no longer here, and they've not done anything other than what they did with Peyton Manning. But that was, you know, I guess when you take into consideration the fact that his wife really didn't know how to operate a football team, so she brought in John Elway to do that and another person to do that, and then Elway's ego took over. It just kind of went downhill for them, and now it's time to just sell and move on. I mean, they can put so much money in their pocket, right? Especially right now in the NFL. I mean, that's just a gold mine sitting there.
So people will buy it. Someone will.
Oh God. And for big money. It's not going to go for no chump change. It's going to go for huge money.
I mean, the Denver Broncos are a big name franchise. Someone's going to buy them eventually.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get, they're not, weirdly enough, we've surpassed, which I never thought in a million years I would ever say this, but our value has surpassed, I think we're top 5 in value right now.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me, because we've generated so much revenue. And if we could win a Super Bowl this year, hey, that's even more revenue.
Yeah.
Because you got teams that have been saying we're this and we're that, and they haven't really done much the last couple of years. So
exactly. And it was crazy because for the longest time, the Dallas Cowboys were the most valuable team in football, and now they're not. So their name is valuable.
Their name, everyone knows who the Dallas Cowboys are, but they've struggled from a football sense. So
exactly. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting offseason, that's for sure, with the way things are playing out. And I don't know where they're going to end up with Daniel Snyder as far as Washington's concerned. At one point, I heard they were going to make him sell the team, which I think that should have happened years ago, but they didn't for some reason. I don't know what he has over them, but he should have sold the team years ago. And now he's put the NFL, along with John Gruden's brother, they put that team and the NFL in a bad situation. So it's dropped their value. It's dropped their revenue. I mean, it's dropped everything. It's dropped their stock value. So it's going to be hard to sell that team for what it's actually worth, given the fact that, or what it could be worth, I should say, because of what he's done to it. It's no different than the Texans. The Texans, their values dropped, and it's because of what's went on there. And I from what I understand, there was a struggle in Miami over Tua and Watson.
Yeah.
There was a power struggle over the two. The owner didn't want one. Flores wanted one. Actually wanted to probably keep both, I think, at one point. And
it said he wanted Herbert. He wanted to draft Herbert. And then he wanted Watson, but they were like, no, we're going to get Tua. So that's kind of what the issue was there.
Who, the owner said that?
Or no, Flores wanted, he wanted Herbert first, and then he wanted Watson. But they were like, no, we're going to keep Tua. So that was kind of the issue there from that standpoint.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that had to do with money and other things, but it just makes no sense. I mean,
well, the way I see it, he'll get a job probably with the Bears, or it wouldn't be surprised if he gets a job maybe with the Broncos, or maybe another team. And he actually, Flores and the Giants would work really well, in my opinion. They got a lot of weapons, a lot of stars. That's a team I have not heard anyone say. You heard it first here. The Giants would be a good place for Flores at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Oh, and by the way,
if
the
you
Giants
want to go
requested
there. For EB?
Yes, they requested an interview for EB.
Okay. Well,
so that was the other team I was trying to think of. This stuff has got my head not clear right now, but the Giants did request an interview with EB.
Okay,
So,
that's good.
That's another thing but I think Flores would be a good fit with the Giants. I think it would be a good fit with a lot of teams. But the Giants, I think he'd be really good with. I actually think he'd do really well with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's got the right mindset to bring a team to where it needs to be. I mean, you see what he did with Miami.
Yeah.
But I think that team's getting ready to implode, and they're going to do. I mean, you rarely see a team do a fire sale in the same, within the same 3 or 4 year period. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to implode, and when it does, it does. But there's a lot of angry people in Miami right now that Flores got fired. There's a lot of angry people in the NFL that he got fired. He should have never been fired, ever.
He's done a good job with them for all those 3 years, turned around every year. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the perfect, but he was able to do many different things you haven't seen them do in a long time. So
exactly.
So it'll work out for him.
I mean, winning seasons. So
that is true. How
do you fire somebody that brings you from basically?
But Jim Caldwell's fired for having a winning season too, going 9-7. So some people you can't please, but I mean, it is what it is. No. What are your thoughts though, man? On this upcoming game, the Chiefs versus Steelers. What are your thoughts on this?
I think if they put Thornhill in the game and they go back to what they were doing prior, I think they have a very good shot of beating them 31-17.
Okay.
I think if they leave it the way it was last week and the week before, it's probably going to be a 28-21, 28-24 game, and it's going to be a squeaker. I think the Chiefs will win it. But I think it's going to be a lot tougher if they don't go back to the ways that made them better. And I know I keep beating the same drum, but it is what it is. It's proven. If anybody out there doesn't see it, I mean, like I said before, Helen Keller and Stevie Wonder see this shit. So if they can see it, anybody can. It's way too obvious that these things need to be this bromance needs to go away. But and it may have. I don't know. I'm sure, from what I heard, Andy had a conversation with all the coaches about, positioning and players and things of that nature. Well, let me just put it this way. He had a conversation with Dave Tobe. He had a conversation with Spags, and the conversations as far as EB, I'm told, are totally different, but that is neither here nor there. But I know he had a conversation about what worked and what didn't work. And I have a weird feeling that they may come out, do like they do every single week. They may come out and they may put 7 up on the board on their first drive. I mean, 68 points on their first drive of it's higher than any team in the NFL. During this season anyway. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. It's really going to depend on what the defense decides, or the defense packages are, and the players are out on the field. But I think the Chiefs can handle this and handle it well.
Oh, for sure. They have a very, very good shot of doing some damage. I think the Chiefs can win this game. Now they're going to have to execute in every facet of the game, offense, defense, special teams. As you said earlier, man, the right players need to play. Therefore, meaning certain players have to play certain positions. Certain players should not be playing special teams. That's neither here or there, though. What needs to happen is that those ultimately become truth. And I believe when I see it from that point. But when it comes to the defense side of the ball, you're going to have to stop Najee Harris from running the ball. If you don't stop him, he's going to run up all over you.
Yeah.
We need our run defense to tackle. That has been the problem with the Chiefs for the last 2 weeks. They cannot tackle. I don't know. I do not understand why, but they cannot seem to take what?
Go ahead. I do, but go ahead.
Oh, they can't seem to take down these guys. They're doing a bunch of arm tackles. We need to wrap them up and take them down. You got to do that because this team, the last thing you need is for Najee Harris to have a crazy game and set some record on your defense as a rookie.
Yeah.
They need to make Big Ben throw the ball. If they can do that and stop them from running, then Chiefs have an excellent chance of winning this game. Now, I think they can win. They're favored by 13 points. I will not be surprised if it's a 10-point game they win by, because as we know, playoffs are difficult, but the Chiefs literally outmatch this team in every single category. If you're looking at Quarterback, advantage Mahomes. Offensive line, advantage Chiefs. Running back, you could say advantage, I guess you could say the Steelers in this case, but I would give it to the Chiefs because we have depth at the running back position.
Yeah.
Wide receiver core is Chiefs. You go so on and so forth. We have a lot of good players at many different positions, even looking on the defensive side. And the Steelers have some defensive players that are studs. But what we need to see them do is execute. And if they can execute, it'll work out for them at the end of the day.
Yeah. You hit something, I know exactly why the team isn't haven't been tackling the right way, and it's beating that drum again. And I wish I had a drum in here because I beat the shit out of it. But they lose intensity. Okay.
Yeah, they're not showing intensity when they get these teams.
Well,
you should be beating up against.
There's a reason behind that, man. There's a reason behind it. It's not because of anything other than the fact that they lose two things. They lose intensity and they lose their focus, because when your focus is on your man and on your assignment, then you're able to protect and do what you need to do. But when your focus is in three other places because you're worried about what one guy is going to do wrong, or this guy is going to do wrong, or why this package is put in place, then your mindset is not focused directly on where you're supposed to be. And that's what's been going on. I've watched film from every game this year, probably 5 times each, if not 10. And when I look back at week really 1 through 6 or 7, I guess it was, they all played the first game. They played with fairly good intensity, but they didn't have any focus. Then the second game came, same way. Third game came, same way. Fourth game, it was like a squeaker. So players gel when they play well together. And when you break that apart, not only do you lose focus, but you also lose your drive. And when you don't have that momentum because your focus is not there, they go hand in hand.
And JP, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's what concerns me. You have players like Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones to motivate the defense. So it's like you would think they'd be saying stuff in these games, but I already have a feeling Tyrann is going to say some stuff in the game regardless of what happens.
He's already said some stuff. So
well, that would not surprise me. Their backs are against the wall. Has Tyrann played the best game? No. Has Chris Jones? No. Has Frank Clark? No. Melvin Ingram has pretty much was only your defensive defender that really stepped up in that Broncos game, if we're being honest from that standpoint.
Yeah.
They need to step up and play a full 60-minute game and take down the Steelers. When they do that, then they need to end up – sorry, if they do that, then we'll have to prepare for the next week. But a lot of Chiefs fans are already claiming the victory, and I understand where they're coming from, but it's like if they don't win, you're going to be hurt. Yeah. And you're going to be the one complaining on Twitter. You're going to be one going on social media complaining and adding the players.
Fire Spags, fire this guy, fire that guy.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I understand where they're coming from, but it's like the battle is not won yet. They have to go win the battle.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have to go out there. I have full, complete confidence they can win this game. I really do. When you look at it, though, just different things that have to happen. When it comes to receiving core, I like D-Rob, but I think it might be time to mix in and let Pringle play over him. When it comes to Josh Gordon, we need him to step up. He has not seemed to really been reliable. And I know, JP, he's been out of football for a bit, but you would think he would be able to catch some of these passes
that have been thrown 5 times.
Yeah, but some of them throws Mahomes has thrown to him, he just hasn't really gotten the ball. He'll hit his hands. I mean, there's different things.
I get it. But
and I understand.
You have to have the practice on the playing field. You can't just abandon a person because they missed.
That's true, but he's been practicing for the last
I'm talking about
13 weeks.
I'm talking about in the game. They don't abandon Hardman when he makes a mistake. They don't abandon Hill when he makes a mistake. They don't abandon Kelsey when he drops a pass, but they abandon Josh. And they put him back.
Well, they didn't abandon Josh as Mahomes is not targeting him, or he's like the last resort. And it's kind of like you got to feed him the ball, though.
That's what I'm saying. You have to feed him more, because the more you feed him, the more you're not going to have a guy that has 4 out of 5 drop passes. You're going to have a guy that got fed, 20 times, and he may have dropped 3 or 4, but yet he caught 16.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of just feeding the man the ball. You can't just leave him. Oh shit, he dropped that pass. I'm not going back to him, or, call a play that is specific to Hardman or specific to anyone else besides him. You have to give him the confidence and build his confidence up, just like they've done with everybody else. It's like, okay, great example is CEH. Okay. The guy fumbles a ball. They went right back to him because they wanted to build his
but they kept going back to him.
But they kept going back to him. You have to do the same thing with Josh. You cannot let that man sit there and feel like he's underperforming or he's doing something wrong, because that's going to get into his psyche. If he feels like the team has trust in him that he can do it at some point, they have to go back and give him an opportunity. And giving him one throw or two throws a game is not an opportunity. I'm sorry.
So my question to you is, JP, what play calls did the Chiefs do in order to get him the ball? Say we doing quick bubble screen passes, slants, maybe trying to throw deep and blow the top off the cover two. What do you think that
I would go slant.
All three of those? Or
I would try slant and deep, because number one, he's fantastic route runner. So you get him out deep, he's going to catch the ball, especially if he burns a corner. So give him the deep pass, give him a couple slants when he's wide open, kind of like how they do Hill, kind of like how they do Hardman, how they do almost Kelsey every single time, and give him an opportunity. They're putting him in positions that the ball is extremely hard to catch for a guy that hasn't played in 2 years. So,
but I feel like they brought him in to do that because what we see him do in the past, and yeah, he hasn't played in a couple of years, but you would think some of that would be there still.
It would be if he was playing, but he's not getting the opportunities on the field in a real life situation, not practice, because they're easier on him in practice. But in a real life situation, when you're facing real corners and real safeties that want to take you down, that want to intercept the ball, that want to, stop the pass, they're not giving him enough opportunities, in my opinion, to prove himself. That's just what I think. I'm not going to down this guy for something that he hasn't had the opportunity to be able to accomplish. I think if they would have, I'm going to say it again, if he would have been involved after the first week of him being in the system, like he should have been, and like he was meant to be, he would be far more advanced. And I think Mahomes would have more confidence in him, but they also have to build his confidence up. And they're not doing that by feeding him one or two times a game, a game.
That's her. And you got to give him the ball. So, and I see what you're saying. Maybe they can try to script and give him the ball a few times. I mean, offense works really well, but we really need that third option that can step up, because Pringle has the ability. McCall Hardman definitely has the ability. I don't think DeRockers Robinson really isn't it. I mean, we kind of see he's done the same stuff year after year after year. Other than that, it's like, who else do you think is going to step up and help? But, I mean, we'll see what's going to happen, man. There's a lot of different things that can materialize during this time. So
I think so too. I think that I know Andy is feeling. I'll tell you this. From what I understand, Andy has felt a little bit betrayed to a degree. And then he's also felt like he's kind of let down Josh. And he's not betrayed by Josh. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I mean. But I think he feels like, I know he feels like he's let Josh down a little bit.
Well, this is the time you got to get him involved.
Yeah,
do different things. And you really should have been doing those last couple weeks, but this is kind of the time now if you want to try something. I mean, bury a team early.
This is the best time to do it with this. They should have.
If you can blow off the Steelers, if the Chiefs do everything they can do and literally put their foot on the gas, the defense goes out there and does everything they need to do. The offense goes out there, scores, and say we have maybe a 24 to 3 halftime lead or 17-0. I mean, extend that maybe with another touchdown. And maybe in the fourth quarter, try getting him the ball, but you can't. You got to try something though.
Yeah.
Because Josh Gordon has the ability to really help the Chiefs, but he hasn't gotten the opportunities. And like you said, man, he throwing the ball in one time a game is not going to help.
It's not.
And I'm not going to say a fault Pat, but Andy, who's going to have to figure something out how to get him the ball, because Josh Gordon has the potential to be the better.
He's the fear factor
that we need. Yeah, that Sammy Watkins was when he was healthy. That's the issue. And Josh really isn't healthy.
Yeah, Josh has not had any problems. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's physically in perfect condition. He knows the routes. It's just like that pass that got batted down in the Cincinnati game, or when he missed that pass. I watched that in slow-mo because everybody said he should have caught that pass. I can tell you right now, I've watched Tyreek, I've watched Kelsey, and I've watched Hardman and other wide receivers in this league miss passes that were easier than that one. So that was a very difficult, when you slow it down and you really watch the timing of that cornerback, or was it may have been safety at that time, I don't remember. But if you watch the timing of when he was there, the ball, if it would have been thrown a half a second earlier, if Mahomes would have made that decision a half second earlier or put a little bit more zip on the ball, he would have caught it.
Okay.
But it was
that's fair. That's fair.
It was just a matter of the timing was absolutely point spot on by that CB. I mean, he was there. It was a perfect cover. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better cover than that one was, because of the timing of the way the ball was thrown versus the second he met Josh to knock that ball down. So I'm not going to fault Josh for that, because that was an extremely tough catch to make for anyone, not just him, but any player.
I hear you.
And I've seen players wide open miss better, easier passes, so
that is true.
It all boils down to him getting the play time on the field and getting his confidence built back up, which they have not done yet. In my opinion, they haven't done it. He misses a pass. Oh, well, let's take him out. It's time to put Hardman in.
No,
I mean,
look,
Hardman,
in that instance, you need to take out D-Rob, keep
that's
Hardman
what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not going against you, but we've seen that with the Chiefs. They want to keep putting D-Rob, and I'm like, D-Rob can play, but we haven't seen consistency. And when there is consistency, he's running the ball backwards. He's holding the football with one hand. If he fumbles, he's cost us games.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen from that standpoint with him. But JP, question for you: when it comes to special teams, how do you think Dave Toba is going to prepare his team? Because special teams is a third phase of games not many people focus on. As we look at the Chargers in 2010, where we had the number one offense, number one defense, but had the 31st ranked special teams. The Chiefs are in a situation where their special teams can help them. What do you think Dave Toba is telling them right now? Or what do you think he's told them this week during practice?
Well, I can tell you this. They have been extremely consistent all year long, and they're one of the better special teams group. I don't know where they're ranked exactly, but they got to be at least
they're at least middle of the pack or top 10.
So
top 10 to top 15.
Exactly. So I think he's probably telling them, do exactly what you've been doing. And exactly what happened to Hardman. I mean, Sprinkle on that return. That was a bad call, and it was a petty call. He didn't fault Pringle for that. In fact, he praised him for it. And he praised how fast he was, almost 22 miles an hour. And it was the second fastest run all year by a player with the Chiefs, clocked anyway. So I think he's probably telling them, you go out there, you play with the same intensity, do the exact same thing you're doing, but just to make sure that if you are going to hold somebody, which there's a hold on every play, make sure it's at least hidden. Don't or release fairly quickly.
But that's the hard thing, though, man. It seems like anytime there's a kickoff, they call holding all the time.
Every time on us. But if you don't, but here's the thing.
In general, with the games, though, I saw like every time a team gets a good play, like, holding. I'm like, come on now.
And that's the problem. It's every team.
There's no leeway, it seems like.
Let me take that back. Let me put it this way. It happens to us. It happens to the Cowboys a lot. It happens to the Eagles a lot. Who else? There's probably 3 or 4 other teams that it happens to on a more consistent basis than it does, say, like the Bucks, or maybe even the Chargers didn't get that many, and it is the 31st ranked special teams, and they didn't have that many holding calls. They had more block in the back, chop blocks, different things like that than they had anything else, or lining up off sides or something. It was always something. But when you look at like the Bucks, they could actually grab a guy. What game was I watching just the other night? it was that last Bucks game.
The Bucks-Panthers
game. I don't remember which defender it was. He actually grabbed what is their running back's name with the Panthers?
It's not McCaffrey because he's hurt. I think it's
the backup guy.
It's Chuba Hubbard.
Yes. They actually grabbed him by his face mask, spun his helmet sideways, and his chin strap came off. It actually unsnapped from the helmet, which if anybody's ever held a real NFL helmet, it's a really hard thing to do. His helmet spun sideways and they never called that. And that ref was 2.5 feet from that play. I looked at it over and over and over again. And I thought, why did they not call that? This poor guy had he was talking through his ear hole and they did not call that play or that penalty. But yet again, that shows you the favoritism that goes on at certain times. And that's another thing that I get tired of talking about because it's the same thing over and over again, but and that's another thing we have to really be careful. Look, I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be substitute refs in some of these games in the playoffs. I have no doubt in my mind. COVID is running rampant. And I have a feeling that we're going to end up, not just us, but other teams are going to, but the problem with that is they need to spread those guys out. If you're going to have, 4 substitute referees or 5 during a day of playoff games, then you better put 1 on each team instead of putting 3 on one team, because the exact same thing is going to happen again that happened to us during the Cincinnati game and what happened to the Cowboys during their game. Is you're going to have guys that don't know what the hell they're doing, that have never called an NFL game, don't know the rules, and they're going to be screwing us up. What irritates me the most is the fact that during that Raiders game, they went to New York on almost every single play. New York reviewed almost every single play. During the Cowboys game and the Chiefs Cincinnati game, they didn't review one single play, not one. And that was an implication. The one for us was definitely an implication game, first seed, second seed. And the one for the Raiders, it was who's going to get in the playoffs. So there's no difference in Okay, the only difference was that we were already in the playoffs.
Yeah, if they would have won the game, we still would be stuck at the second seed. But no, I see where you're coming from.
No, we wouldn't have.
But wait a minute. No, you're right. No, you're wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. Yeah,
because
we lost 1 seed.
Yeah.
But the thing though is the Chiefs. I know people don't want to hear this, but they have to play above the rest if they want to win these games in the playoffs. You got to play above. All right, fine. You're going to call holding on me and you make it second and 23. All right, Pat, you need to get a 15, 20-yard pass and put a 30 short. And we've seen Mahomes do that before. We've seen it. All right, you're going to call pass interference on me. All right, Tyrann Mathieu, we need you to get a timely interception or have Melvin, you're going to knock the ball out when the quarterback
put yourself in a position to know.
You got to do different things like that to try to offset, because look, are officials perfect? No, officials are human. Humans are not perfect. There is no perfect human on earth, no matter how many people try to say they are perfect, especially with officials. Officials don't see half the stuff that goes on all the time. We've seen it in many different games, JP. You, I know you would agree with me on that. So the Chiefs need to play above the rest, but also make sure in the extent that they are doing everything in their power to win. So yeah, man, if they're going to call a holding call on the Chiefs, all right, Pat, we need you to help us get those yards back. And that's one of the things I was happy if I got Mahomes, is because when we had Alex Smith, the issue with him was that we would get a holding call, and then it'd be like second and 22, and we'd be like, oh, well, the drive's over, because Alex would not move the ball. He would do the same conservative stuff because our offense wasn't built at the time. Now we can score in every play. We can pick up 20 yards. The running backs can pick up yards. We're in a completely different position from that standpoint. So we just need a team to respond. Our penalty is going to happen, yes, but it's how you respond to them is what's going to help you out in the end. And that's what I see from moving forward.
Exactly. And that's, another thing too, if it was me and I was in a position, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they put us in, they call penalty on us left and right, like they did on Ward or they did on Snead or whatever, I would almost say, you know what? If you're going to give them this game, I'm going to go out and put somebody on their back. And if you guys want to call a penalty on me, that's great, but I'm going to make sure that they feel it. Because at the end of the day, the only way you're going to win a game like that is taking players out of the game that are causing the problems. It's that simple. I mean, back in the day, that's what they used to do. If you had a penalty called on you over and over and over again, you had a jack-off ref, whatever the case may be, they would take that player out of the game. Then you didn't have to worry about it no more. Oh, did his knee buckle? That's a bitch. I'm sorry. Now we don't have to worry about that penalty being called on him anymore. And that's almost to the point. If they're just going to hand a game away, you might as well just go out there and play your ass off because they're taking the defense out of the game.
You still, and the thing is, if they still call penalties on you, the defense needs to still continue to play high standard, keep continuing to push through, battle through adversity. If the offense gets called for penalties, keep doing the same thing, man, because eventually the Chiefs are built. Honestly, this offense is built to wear teams down. If you get the right plays and execution, you can really get to these teams and mess them up. Same with defense. If everything's clicking, we can stop the run game, and we can also if we can stop the run game, all Big Ben's gonna have to beat us with his arm. As we know, JP, Big Ben cannot throw. From what we've seen, we looked at this last game, and it took so much out of him to basically win that game. I don't even know how he was still throwing the ball. And like you said, man, he had his shoulder or elbow. I don't even know what.
When it goes out, it goes out, dude. It just is what it is.
He can't throw anymore, really.
No.
So the Chiefs, they need to win this game. And then if you can win this game, you got to prepare for the next week because you're going to face a bigger, badder, stronger team. I mean, some of these teams are no joke. They are no joke. You have the potential to honestly probably end up playing a team such as like the Bills, Patriots, or the Bengals if the Chiefs end up winning this game this Saturday. And those three teams are going to be tough in a way. Yeah. I mean, Belichick on one hand, he's always prepared. The Bills, I mean, they basically came into Kansas City and knocked the Chiefs out. And then the Bengals had a historic game where they're saying, oh, Joe Burrow is better than Mahomes. So every time you go into these games, you are going to be literally against the wall. And I would not be surprised if some people end up picking Steelers this game. I mean, the players, I'm pretty sure we've already seen the disrespect. We got fans talking crazy. We got different things happening. But the team has to again, pull within themselves and realize we can do this. And I think that's what they're going to do this Sunday. They're going to come out. They're going to show, hey, we are still here, and they're going to win this game, and they'll look forward to the next week. Because literally, if you lose, you're done. And you're wasting your Mahomes' prime. Now, we can talk about the beginning of the year. They were trashed into the duh. Look, they turned it around, and they're at a point where they got the second seed. They should honestly be like the 6th or the 7th seed, if we're just being honest. Yeah, because way the season.
The way the season started, they should have been. But we got lucky with I guess not so much luck, but we started playing better, and the other teams that had the easier schedules at the beginning,
they had the lead on us.
They had the lead on us, and then they had that front-loaded schedule, and then it started to take effect. And then also they don't have the depth to back up their injuries when they have them. We have been talking about this for 2 years that Lamar was going to have an injury running the ball, and it was going to take him out.
You can't run the ball at that level for that long. You're going to eventually get hurt, and that's what we see. And we don't want Lamar to get hurt. No. But that's just kind of the story.
And look, where are they at right now?
They are home, and they were considered to be one of the best teams after they beat the Chiefs. Yeah. But I was like, look. We got a lot of season left. We're built with depth in many different positions, and plus we didn't have the injury issues they had. But plus, one thing I know when it comes to Brett Veach, he gets the guys we need.
Yeah,
he has these backups prepared, so I'm not worried from that standpoint at all. I think the Chiefs going to be in a good spot moving.
Well,
forward.
It's funny too because I remember there was a few guys on Twitter that were complaining about how many people Brett Veach brought in on the offensive line, and then I started thinking, okay, well, maybe he could have taken maybe one or two.
Like, did we really need Kyle Long? Because he's not playing this year.
Here's the thing. But with Kyle Long, he's strong. He's a beast. And if he had he was brought in as a security blanket. He wasn't brought in to be a starter. He probably, at one point, one of the guys I talked to said, look, even if he didn't break his hand, he wouldn't have probably played in a game with the way our offensive line has not only from start of the year, everybody bitched about Orlando Brown for no reason because he really didn't have a bad game. He had one
was
bad
pretty
game.
consistent.
He was very consistent throughout the year. And people look at it from a standpoint of they look at one thing, but they don't look at everything else that went along with it. So they were gelling. They were getting used to each other in a live scenario. After a few games, they got it all put together. And this guy told me, he said, look, he was brought in for a security blanket. Everybody wanted depth. That's what they got. They didn't pay him a ton of money, but in the same aspect, he's a guy that can go out there for very little money and produce if he needed to produce. Nobody expected him to break his, the bone, but it is what it is. And we've not needed him. Okay. I mean, for the most part, we haven't needed him. Our offensive line is, I think, ranked number two, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty good. Top 5 at least, but 2 would not surprise me.
I think it was ranked number 2, if I'm not mistaken. And you got to look at the caliber. Okay, we got an all-pro on one side, an all-pro on the other, and rookies in the middle. When you really look at it, you got 2 rookies that came out, and both of them have played like absolute all-stars. I mean, I don't know what the stats are of Mahomes' sacks this year, but I guarantee it's under 15.
Yeah.
It has to be. I mean, I don't think he's had more than 15 sacks. Do you? I don't remember being on his back that much.
He hasn't really gotten sacked. And one thing of this, he's at 28.
Okay.
That's not bad.
28
That's not
sacks.
bad.
Now look.
That's not bad compared to what you see some teams give up.
Well, and not only that, think about it like this. That was, and if you look, how many of those were from week 1 to week 6?
It doesn't say, but I would not be surprised if these 10 of them were in the week,
if not more,
week 7.
Yeah, if not more. 10,
a big amount.
Yeah, because I haven't seen him much on his back at all from this, from this last
stretch of games.
Last stretch of games from the second half of the season. I don't remember. In fact, there was a couple games he didn't get sacked at all. So a few games.
That is true.
And not only that, he hasn't been running for his life like he normally did last year at the end of the season, or from really week 5, 6 on. And he's comfortable in the pocket. He's comfortable outside of the pocket. Thank God they released him and let him do what he wanted to do and play his game and actually call plays.
The Chiefs, they're making JP a little mad over here for the first few weeks.
I was pissed. I mean, I was fucking sideways. I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I'm standing there watching this man take more hits in one game than he took in 5 last year. Get pressured more in 1-2 games than he got pressured all of last year. And they're making him stand in the pocket. Okay, look, if you're going to get pressured like that, I've watched Mahomes for 3 years prior to this year. He stood in the pocket, but he always stepped up in the pocket or he went backwards in the pocket and rolled out. He's very good at that. But when you make him stand in one position like a freaking robot, he's going to get terrorized. Anybody would. And that's what they did to him. Not they, one person did. And that was the demise of that, the beginning of the season, and probably the demise of another thing too, which I'm pretty positive of. But regardless, you don't want to take out the man's ability to play the game. If you paid him that much money, you got a line to protect him, then you're going to, regardless if you paid him or not, he's still going to have to do what he does to be who he was. Lamar Jackson, great example, is he's a running back that throws the football. That's simple. He could be a wide receiver that throws the football because he's got the height and he's skinny and he's fast and he's elusive. The problem with that is when you're a quarterback, you're not supposed to do that on every other play. You're not supposed to be the leading rusher.
Running the ball like that. You're supposed to preserve. That's why you see quarterbacks playing into a little older age because they're not really getting hit. They're not really getting hit.
Exactly. I mean, look what happened to Michael Vick so many times when he ran the ball over and over and over again. Donovan McNabb got hurt his knees. I mean, so many quarterbacks have their careers ended short because of running the ball over and over and over again, or not being able to slide, or wanting to take the hit and prove that you're tough. I watched Lamar in one game this year get hammered in the middle of the field. It was about a 12-yard run, and I knew it was coming. I saw the guy coming from the left hash mark, and I thought he's going to blow his ass up. And not only did he blow him up, but another safety from the other side blew him up. So he just got sandwiched in between those guys. And he jumped up real fast like it didn't even affect him. But you can see when he was walking back to the huddle, he wasn't right.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to allow the man to play his game. He knows how to protect himself. You see how great he is at getting the first down and getting out of bounds. And usually they target him anyway, that they never call it, but they hit him when he's 1 foot out of bounds and they blast him into a bench and they never call the shit, or they put him on his back. Mahomes got face masked in that Cincinnati game twice and not one call. I watched it, not one call. So he actually got face masked in the Denver game too, but it goes to show you that he has learned how to protect himself and also be able to advance the ball, whether he needs to run it, whether he needs to get out of the pocket and roll out, whether he needs to go forward, backwards, whatever he needs to do, he will do to buy time and find an open wide receiver. And now the receivers are getting back used to what they used to do prior to this whole pocket presence crap. And as you see, the offensive line's learned it, and he's told them, if I say something, if I give you an indication, it could be a code word, it could be I smack you in your ass or whatever it is, follow me, because this is the direction I'm going. And the wide receivers know it. They know how to get open. You saw that pass where he threw across field. Was that the Cincinnati game where he threw the ball across his body right in the middle of the field?
I think so.
Right back to his old self again. That's the Mahomes that needs to be out there playing in every single game, because that's what makes him him. So, yeah, you're right. It pissed me off for the first 5 weeks. I was sideways. I couldn't believe what they were doing to him. And that Washington game set me over the edge. That was the one that I think did me in, was the Washington game. To watch him
and they finally changed stuff, so that's good.
Second half, he lost his mind in the locker room. I mean, I don't blame the man. I would have lost my mind. I probably would have done it way earlier than he did. But
that's true.
He's a very he's got a lot more filter, I guess, maybe. But he snapped in the locker room. And I don't blame him a bit. And he came out, and did you notice in the second half of that Washington
They played
game,
a lot better.
Way better.
He's like the Mahomes of old.
And you know what's so funny, dude? So you and I did a show after that last game. I'm trying to remember what game it was. We won, and Mahomes threw a pass to Tyreek Hill on the right hash mark, rolling out. And it was right at the end of the game, and it secured the win for us.
That was in the Packers game.
It might have been the Packers game. And after that game,
yeah, it was Packers.
Do you remember exactly what I said? Do you remember what I said about that pass? Back. Well, not
that's going to help. That's going to help him. That's going to help uplift him because of everything we've seen in the past. That right there, everything worked out in your favor.
Yeah. Well, the funny part about that was I said that may be the one pass that changes his mindset, that brings him back to where he was before. The crazy part about that is that I watched about a week ago. They were showing, actually, it was on one of the highlight reels that somebody had made. And it was an ESPN group of guys talking about that play after that game. And the guys said, don't be surprised. I've seen it before, that one play, one pass will get your mindset back and get you where you need to be. And everybody agreed with him. Well, that fared to be true, because for the most part, Mahomes has done everything he can do to be who he is, other than the deep, long passes that, they've kind of shied away from because of the too high safety set.
And you can still beat teams with that. Just got to throw it to I mean, really, if you're going to do too high safety, then you have Mecole Hardman. And I feel like Jamal Hardman can literally bust up the defense from underneath. Yes. He is the guy that can destroy the two high safety from underneath.
100%.
The same thing with Tyreek Hill if need be. But you got two guys more specifically, and then you can put Tyreek Hill going deep on one play. You can have Kelsey coming over the middle, doing towards the sideline. You can have Pringle coming out of the backfield, going towards the middle. I mean, middle of the field. There's many different things you can do in order to break the cover two up.
Exactly.
It's just, are you trying to do it one play, or are you going to try and do it in the course of 10 plays? Because if you do it in the course of 10 place, you're going to tire out the defense first and foremost.
Yeah.
The Steelers defense, if the Chiefs have a chance to beat them through nutrition and wearing their defense down. If you can do that, then you're golden. You're golden.
Yeah. And he's learned a lot of patience. I'll give him that. He's learned patience because I know he was bored. He was bored. He wants to go deep. He wants to put the ball in the air. He wants to make the big plays. And it's understandable. I would too if I was as good as him. If I had an arm like that guy and I was the face of the league and that's what put me where I am, I would definitely want to continue to do that. Play that backyard style football that made you who you are. But when they start to kind of realize it, oh, well, wait, if we put this too high safety set in, then he doesn't really have a place to go with it. We got everybody somewhat covered, especially since they didn't bring in another Sammy to break that up. Then, and by the way, that's not something new to this year. Okay. That too high safety set that everybody's been playing against us, that's not new to this year. They did that last year and they did that the year before. It was just the fact that we had that extra wide receiver that was a deep threat that would break everything up.
And Sammy had the ability to just kind of, if you're locked on both sides with him and Kelsey, Sammy was just able to somehow get behind the defenders and find the open holes.
Yeah.
He will. I mean, we've seen Lou doing every single playoff game. He will literally get behind the defense and find that bubble, catch it 10 yards first down, catch it 20 yards first down, catch it 30 yards in the Super Bowl. I mean, literally, he was able to do that so many different times.
Yeah. I mean, look what he did to the Texans. I mean, he shredded them. So I think it was 2 plays, he destroyed them. So it's all a matter of, if you don't bring in somebody to replace a guy like that, then you have to adjust or find one of your other wide receivers that can somewhat play that role. And so far, they haven't really tried anyone to play that role. They tried Hardman for a little bit.
Hardman's your underneath guy.
He's an underneath guy.
He's not the home run player you really need. He's that underneath guy that can take it to the home run. If he can figure out the route running still, and if he can figure out just kind of vision and looseness, I think he has a really good shot. It may not come this year, but I think coming forward into this game and even the future in the playoffs, he has a really good shot of possibly making to where you can't be doing cover 2 against us because you're going to get exposed. And I think they're going to try to get players to help with that. I mean, if theoretically Pringle could probably do that, D-Rob, I'm not for sure. If Corner Power to come next year, I mean, I think he could help in that sense.
And then you got who we brought in 2 days ago, who we've been jocking, since they brought him in, which we wanted, you wanted, I wanted after you showed him to me, and it came full circle. We ended up with him, and I'm glad we did. That's a Veach specialty. I'm going to start calling the full circle. I'm just going to call Veach full circle because everything he does comes from
every player he wants ends up coming through.
Yep.
It's the craziest thing.
It is. It's insane. I know I harp on how good he is, but God dang, he's good. Him and Andy are the best GM duo, coach duo I've ever seen. They're
on the same page. And if you don't have that, we've seen teams break up because of that. We have that here. So
yeah,
it's a blessing at the end of the day.
It really is. It really is. There was something I was going to tell you. Oh, there is something that I did hear. There was a fake rumor on Instagram that Baker Mayfield got traded. He didn't get traded, but they have talked to other teams.
That doesn't surprise me. I can see him on a couple teams where he'd be very beneficial.
Yeah. Well,
I can see a couple scenarios. And
I think it's all going to boil down to, I think if he gets traded, maybe that will be the time that he actually humbles himself down. He played this year scared. He played injured, scared, because he was worried about if the backup was going to come in and outplay him. And that was another mistake on his part. That's not toughness, that's stupidity. If you're going to go out there and play injured and chase your players off, which he did, and he's still to a degree doing that with your ego and your stubbornness, then I don't know who he could play with and do well with. No quarterback's going to, no head coach is going to put up with that shit. So if he does end up getting traded, hopefully that'll be the thing that humbles him down and gets him back to a point where he needs, brings him down to ground level because he needs to be there. he didn't play just to show, I can handle it. I'm the tough guy. He did it because he was playing scared, and he could have injured himself even worse, which he probably did by playing all those games with an injury. But he continued to do it, and I'm sure, I have no doubt that given the fact that he's coming up, isn't he coming up on his contract? It was going to be the year that
this is contract year.
I don't think they're going to give it to him.
Well, they're going to have to find a better quarterback. So
yeah, I mean, either
who are they going to find? That's the thing.
Well, here's the thing: you can either do a 5th-year option on him, or you do a 5th-year option on him, or you trade him, let him go.
Because they have too many players, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. So
yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man.
Dorsey brought in a plethora of Super Bowl caliber players, and honestly, from everything I have been told, he is the sole reason why that team has fallen flat.
Well,
so
what is a team you lose to this team? If one person drops the ball, you all lose. If one person, if Mahomes throws an interception, they lose that way. They lose as a team that way. So I mean,
yeah,
it's a team game. One person's decisions can mess up a bit for everyone else. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but what can you do in those situations?
I don't know, man. He just needs to come down. He needs to humble himself and come down to ground level. I mean, if he played football as well as he does those commercials, he'd be fantastic. But
yeah, he be on them. State, no, it's a progressive. He's doing a lot of the progressive commercials.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he does a good job with them. I mean, actually, he's really good. If you watch those commercials, he's actually pretty good in them.
Yeah. I think he may need a consistent coach, a new place of scenery. We'll see what happens. But if they get rid of him, they're going to have to find a replacement. I don't see a suitable replacement, and I don't think they're going to want to waste some of their players' primes right now. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it just depends on how many players want to stick around. I mean,
that's true. I mean, they're going to have to mend some relationships too. I can see some be.
He's going to have to mend them. He's going to have to do it. It's not anybody else but him. He's got to mend it with Jarvis Landry. He's got to mend it with Kareem Hunt. He's got to mend it with a lot of guys. So I know Kareem Hunt wants out of there too. That I know. So I know Jarvis is once out of there. He wants to play for a team that's actually going to utilize him and get somewhere.
The thing is that they run the ball a lot, and you got a lot of guys like, well, I want to be throwing the ball, and that's just kind of the issue you're looking at in this sense. So
yeah, but this is not. There's 2-3 teams out there that run the ball more than they pass, them being one of them.
That's true.
This is not that era is over with. I mean, yeah, running the ball is very important. Don't get me wrong, but you have to have more of this is an air attack era of football. And you have these wide receivers that are hybrid guys like a Tyreek Hill and a McCole Hardman and even a Jarvis Landry that can come out of the backfield and be a running back, come out and do an end around. A lot of different things that they can do with their positions and their skill level, and they're not being utilized that way. And that could be a call from a coach. That could be a call from the quarterback. Maybe a quarterback doesn't know how to do that. I don't know, but it's going to be a weird situation. I mean, you got teams that I had never dreamed wouldn't make the playoffs this year that are sitting at home, and it blows me out of the water. When we played Cleveland, I remember doing the show and I said, wow, that is a team that is probably going to be the team we play in the AC championship game. And boy, was I wrong.
I remember saying that too, because it really looked like that at the end of the day.
Yeah. But when it all boils down to it, it was our defense. It wasn't that so much of their offense being that great. It was our defense.
Our defense struggling.
Yeah, they struggled. So, and they've come back from that struggle as long as they put the right players on the field. I still think DOD needs a chance. I think Armani Watts needs a chance. If we're in this Steelers game, if we're blowing them out at halftime, if I don't see Armani Watts and Dorian O'Daniel on that field, if I don't see Thornhill on the field, I'm going to be calling everybody I know because I'm going to be pissed. I mean, the whole dynamic of that defense has changed in these last 2 games.
That's true.
So, but other than that, I think Spags, hopefully he's wised up, and I'm hoping Andy went in there and said, hey, go back to what you did before.
I heard
they had a conversation. Let's see if it sticks.
That's the hope.
Yeah. So we gave the We gave the Dante Hall helmet away. I'm sorry. Yeah, Dante Hall helmet. Um, that went to Sharon. Congratulations, Sharon. I know you're happy. You made that very clear. So now, the DM was phenomenal. I mean, she was so excited she didn't know what to do with herself. So we got a giveaway that we're going to do. Do you want to do it right before the Sunday's game, or when do you want to do it? We can do it. We can announce it on a Spaces if everybody wants to come on and listen. We can announce a giveaway. If you want to go that route, it's up to you.
I mean, kind of whatever works. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a big deal to me. Kind of we can
Okay.
talk about and figure out what works.
Yeah, I just figured, it's something to talk about, and we've been giving something away every week pretty much since the season started, and we might as well continue the trend since we're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
Well,
we'll probably for everyone. We'll probably get something out for you tomorrow for you guys.
Yeah, we'll do our best to do it tomorrow, or maybe we'll do it as soon as we can. We like to time it just right for everybody. So we got something in mind that we'll give away. And if they make it to the Super Bowl this year and win it, got something else in mind. I do anyway. I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
But right now, I'm happy for Sharon. She got she's entered every contest. She's been a loyal listener of ours. She listens to every show. She promotes us. She does everything. And we just, we pulled her name out, and it just happened to be there, which was really lucky on her part given the fact that, out of all the people that entered, there was probably 30 or 40 that actually did it right. So, I think it's a good thing. A couple of people finally got their things today. Finally, after all this shipping disasters that we've been through, the Tyreek Hill went to Storm, the Tyreek Hill jersey, and I believe somebody else got one of their. I'm not sure, but I think somebody else had gotten one of their giveaways. I'm not sure yet, but it's
on the way now.
Yeah, it'll be there hopefully by tomorrow. It's just been a nightmare. They actually sent it back to me, man. I mean, that's how bad it was. I mean, one of them was because of weather, and they didn't want to hold on to it too long because I put fragile on it, do not damage, and especially the helmets. And they end up sending them back to me because they didn't want to damage them or lose them. So it was kind of crazy. I haven't seen anything like this ever when it comes to shipping. So it's put a hamper on everything.
For sure.
But outside of delivering it ourselves, there's really not a whole lot we can do at this point. But at least everybody is getting what they're winning, and that makes us happy. So as long as everybody continues to listen to the show, sign up for the website, cheesefocus.com, and go on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. You will have an opportunity to win something. Again, when we hit 40,000 followers, we got a badass gift that everybody's going to want.
We're almost at 28K.
Yeah.
So that means we're 12,000 more. You're almost at 27K. So we're about 13K more. So we're almost there, guys. Just keep helping us out get there. But we really do have some good gifts waiting for you guys once we keep hitting these different thresholds.
Correct. So with that being said, man, what else you got?
I think, man, let's just give them our score predictions and we'll kind of leave it, man. Hopefully the Chiefs can pull through.
All right, what's yours? I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say the Chiefs going to win. I'm going to give them, I'm going to say 29-16. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers get a lot of field goals in this competition. Granted, if the Chiefs can stop them.
Okay.
That's my prediction right now.
Well, I have
giving about a 13-point spread in that sense. What's your prediction, man?
Well, I have two. If they go back to what they did prior to the Cincinnati game, I think it's going to be a 33-17 game with a trash touchdown at the end. If they stick with what they did in the last two games, they're going to squeak it by 28-24, 28-21, somewhere in that range. I'm going to give them 10 points, but it's going to be a hard-fought 10 points.
I can see that.
And I say that for two reasons. One, this team's coming out fighting for Ben, and they're going to give everything they got because this is his last hurrah, no matter how you look at it.
It is.
And if we don't have the right players on the field, God knows what's going to happen. So we've seen what's happened in the past.
Yep,
so
that is very true.
Hopefully they make the adjustments they needed to make. And from what I'm hearing from everyone, they have. And I've heard they've seen certain guys out there that, playing or practicing with the ones that should have been practicing the last 2 weeks with the ones. And let's see if that comes to fruition. But with that being said, I hope everybody has a great Red Friday, and we'll try and get his spaces in, but maybe Saturday if you want.
Yeah, we can get one Saturday. We get a couple Sunday. Yeah, man. I'm all good to go for that. We some playoffs, man. We got to cover some stuff, and people love hearing what we got to say.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of DMs asking for another spaces. So
tell you what, we will give you guys one on Saturday. We'll
yeah.
We'll get you one at least on Saturday. Sunday, we're gonna try to do our same as ordeal there.
Yeah,
but we will try to get you guys one on Saturday for sure.
Exactly. One on Saturday, one before the game on Sunday, one at halftime, and then we'll do our show at the end of the game. But everybody enjoy your weekend. Have a great Red Friday, and we will talk to you Saturday.
Yep.
Peace out, everybody.
See you next time, guys.